Not threat, a warning to Dems, rhinos, traitors, and enemies. Domestic. We have had enough. We tried reason, but you were hysterical. We tried talk, but you shouted us down. We elected a black president, but you race bait more now. We tried voting, but you cheated. Our patience ebbs. Our options fade. But so do yours. Poisoned soldiers won't protect you. Betrayed police can't defend you. Blantifa fights covertly because they know what would happen if they didn't. China won't aid you. We aren't your masked morons and stupid sheep. Redo the vote. Our red righteous rage rises. And once it's unleashed, it's too late. I'm a retired SOCOM soldier, former DIA intelligence collector, and ex-DEA special agent, targeted by the deep state turned whistleblower, now your intelligence officer, repurposed as chaplain, leader, teacher, and truth teller. New mission: rescue and restore our fallen republic. Objective: defeat the deep state. Means: expose fake news. Tools: truth, discernment, and free will. Attention, deep state Dems, rhinos, Black Lives Matter, and domestic. Your masks won't silence us. Your shutdowns won't stop us. Your riots don't scare us. You're not as disciplined as the Nazis. You're not as fierce as the Japanese. You're not as disciplined as the British. You're not as brutal as ISIS. We beat them all. You're next. Welcome. I'm Jeff Prather, and this is the Prather Point. Trump has announced he's running. The speech was perfect, polished and precise, calm and measured. This to dispel the common complaint. Love the policies, but hate the pontificating. Lots of excitement, but Trump was serious and sober and kind. He said all the right things. Promised a top to bottom cleanup of the FBI. Reinstatement with back pay to all military personnel drummed out by the non-vax jab shot fraud. Congressional term limits, even going to Mars. An unbeatable combination. The pundits were beside themselves. There's just one problem. The baby killing, child castrating, teen grooming, drag queening, pedo pimping, jab pushing, Nazi loving, tranny tyrant traitors who infiltrated, espionaged, and sabotaged the 2020 election will never, ever permit a 2024 revenge tour. They can't. They're outed mass murderers, rapists, and pedophiles. Even as I say this, these sold-out satanic scum are slow walking the steel of the midterms. They stole the vote in 2020, and they are stealing it across the nation from Arizona to Virginia now. And they will do it again. Dems love to cheat. Rhinos love to lose. I'm not even going to refer to them as Dems and GOP because clearly it's the uniparty. It's constitutionalists versus communists. Resistance against reset. Really, parents against pedos. Constitutionalists are business folk that promote personality and profit via platforms. Communists are attorneys that weaponize the judicial system and sabotage machinery, social or electrical. Blue team controls the system by cheating, manipulates the machinery, human and not. Red team, not so much. Then there's the element in the room. Trump backed the mass murdering mRNA cartel con, just like the Dems and rhinos. Nuremberg could only happen after American and Russian allies killed Nazis. Lots and lots of Nazis. Those that weren't killed and paroled into the emerging deep state proto-DARPA projects were then tried. In this 5G biodigital info influences versus 4G resistance World War IV, World War III was GWAT. Red team is still in the building the resistance phase, while blue team is in the round up the red team phase. Never mind missiles, maybe Russian, maybe Ukrainian, maybe US hitting Poland. American SEALs and soldiers have already been killed and captured. The Ukraine war is a bloody tragedy play, staged with real blood. Trump's security Secret Service detail at the event was the best I've seen, and I've guarded presidential candidates here and abroad. Sharp and serious. Go back and watch the tape for yourself. They know what Trump did not say in his speech. To win, he and we will have to fight. And this is about that fight. And I'm not advocating anything illegal, immoral, unethical, or violent, although the left does blatantly, constantly, and openly, such as in Capitol Police Special Agent Assassin Michael Byrd, who murdered in cold blood female white veteran Ashley Babbitt at the Capitol, and then was praised and put on TV and never even investigated. But Team America, along with many other groups, are calling for a redo the vote to true the vote in Arizona, specifically in Maricopa, because Arizona is America's Alamo. It was the tribe's Alamo. It was the Apaches' Alamo, the last stand against the conquering army. And now it is America's last stand. There will never be fair elections again. Therefore, the whole Trump running is irrelevant if we do not counter espionage and counter sabotage them legally, ethically, morally, and non-violently. I've seen some articles criticizing our effort. Some guy with long hair and muscles who never served as a cop or a soldier, who just has a radio show, who's doing nothing except talking. We're doing a lot more than just talking. I don't spend a lot of time on critics. There's just no point to it, but we are building the resistance. We are building the parallel structures right now. Hospitals that don't kill, doctors that actually heal, politicians that are veterans that are taking office, police departments that just don't simply let the criminals out and arrest the patriots. That is typical, classic, unconventional warfare resistance building, team building, neighborhood watch building. That's what's happening now. And so this is one of the events, and I'm giving all honor and credit again to Team America, particularly Team Arizona, split team Maricopa, again, ferociously still working, because Kari Lake is calling for a do-over of the election after 70 voting machines failed in Maricopa County. This is, of course, the most highly profile dispute yet to emerge. In the midterm cycle, it's no longer election day, it's election month. The video I just showed you was hidden camera revealed to me early of the drop boxes and the police, the sheriffs and the police standing there while the drop boxes are filled with multiple ballots doing nothing. The cops are in on it. As Billy Jack said, when the policemen break the law, there is no law, just a fight for survival. What we are trying to do right now is to determine if the justice system in America, in flyover America, we already know that DC is corrupt. I mean, there's no justice in the Department of Justice. And I worked for the Department of Justice for 19 years before I became a whistleblower and they targeted me. But we're trying to see if the justice system is repairable or not, because the final option is kinetic and violence. And when you flip that switch, you can't turn it off easily. Nobody serious wants that. No veteran like myself wants that, but we understand it. It's not like a movie. War and violence is not like a movie. There's almost no movies that show real violence because real violence is too difficult to watch. Very few films really showed that. They always glamorize it. The guy's on the ground punching him, not stomping his face in, not curb stomping his jaw, not crushing his skull or throat. That's real violence. Lake's race was called in favor of her Democratic opponent, Katie Hobbs, who supervised it, again, yet herself, with a narrow win of 98% of the votes counted last Thursday, leading by only 17,200, just like Fox calling the election early, because Newsmax is Fox, is CNN, is MSNBC, is CIA. Get your head in the fight. Kari Lake is, I believe, going to bring about a legal challenge. I've talked about the legal challenges in Cochise County. We're working with Mike Schaefer. 2020 is nullified of the machines there. The Dems brought in Mark Elias, Clinton heavy hitter lawyer, to get an injunction. Cochise said they're going to count them anyway. They then referred them to the sheriff because hand counting votes is illegal, supposedly. So if the police become corrupt, then there is no system left. And this will continue to degenerate. And as I said, your poisoned troops and castrated cucked cops won't help you in the end. So this is a sincere effort. This is one example, the Maricopa honking, similar to the Freedom Canadian convoy drive around Maricopa Port of Supervisors. And so remember, I interviewed Pastor Arthur Pawlowski, a real Christian pastor. He said 99% of them are fake. I agree. Who was arrested 5 times. But before he was arrested the last time, and now he's out, he went to the Canadian truckers and prayed with them in the Christ connection, brought the power of the Holy Spirit, gave them the strength to resist. The Canadian truckers shut everything down, not like the American trucker rally, which was about crying on each other's shoulders and giving each other awards and press releases. And the towing companies wouldn't respond either. And then Trudeau, son of Fidel, illegitimate son of Fidel, then started to lock them up, seize their bank accounts, even though he had the backing of the corrupt parliament there. But then people started pulling their monies out of the bank accounts. And so the puppet masters, the banksters behind the scene told him to stop. That is resistance. That is power coming from God through the Christ connection, flowing in and stopping everything. That's what we are emulating. We're emulating our Canadian brothers and sisters here, demanding a new election in Maricopa due to the unconstitutional disenfranchisement, failures, errors, maladministration, and fraud. Friday, November 18th, noon to 3 p.m. But this is just the beginning. There's a map there, driving around the Maricopa Board of Supervisors loop, because you're just driving. Now, and it says down, if Charlie Kirk and Easy AZ say, don't go, it's a January 6th setup, I've got to say, I'm not that impressed with Bannon or Charlie Kirk. Every once in a while I get time to watch, but again, it's news light. It's not serious. I know somebody from Team America contacted Bannon about this. He said he was not interested. So we don't expect them to do this, but we are beginning to build the resistance. So in Operation Eagle Claw, which was the first operation of Special Operations Detachment Delta Force, now known as Combat Applications Group, crashed in the desert when Marine CH-47 helicopter pilots weren't used to flying with nods, and they sliced into a 130. And the operation was then scrubbed, and there were servicemen who died. In the panic, Charlie Beckworth took his walking stick, taped a chem light to the walking stick, and said, this is now the talk, and started to organize around here. This is what that is. This is our chem light in the sand, where we are building the resistance. Do we expect them to comply? No. They've been paid and praised for years now for violence. Antifa, I've had the Antifa chick on saying violence is fun. Yeah, it's fun while you're given. You just haven't received it yet because you're picking on children and women and babies. not veterans, not serious folk. So this is the beginning of that effort. And it is very, very important to support this. So I've put this out to American Media Periscope. I'm on there. I've put this out to Brighteon TV, although Brighteon was already on it, to support this across the Liberty Luminary channels to support the movement in Maricopa, which is then going to extend to Cochise County, then to Tucson, and then across the country. We are going to build the resistance here. The reason they've slow walked the steel is because of resistance. So we are winning slowly. You have to look back in time to see the big picture. And today, nobody does history. Nobody reads scripture. So Rome lined the streets with crucifixions back in the days of Spartacus. Now they do not do that. There is less death and starvation and disease today because they can't get away with it. They have to hide it. So we are winning, but it is a slow win. Remember, it took revolutionary Christianity 3 centuries, 300 years to outlove and overcome the Roman Empire by going more than a mile with a Roman soldier who could enlist you to carry his kit for a mile. That's where that Yeshua story comes from, by the way. It's relevant. If you don't read the history and understand the details, then you can't understand. But a Roman soldier walking along, carrying his kit on his pillium, on his lance, could say, hey, you carry this for a while. Because then when they got to their camp, they had to build a camp, a moat, because they were engineers and soldiers both. And so Yeshua said, if someone, really he was talking about the enemy, Roman soldiers, enlist you to carry, go with them a mile, go with them too. Outlove them, outlast them. That's what we are going to do. Up until we lost a 5th generation war against the Great Reset pedophiles and trannies, we had only lost 4th generation wars before, like Vietnam. So this is very, very important to understand. And so Arizona's elections must be redone. They are obviously fraudulent. They were obviously incompetent to allow for corruption. And that over 70 voting machines in Maricopa County had issues with ballot tabulator machines after they had prepped all this. They prepped the sabotage. And this is another reason why, and I'm still a Trump supporter, but I'm actually more impressed with DeSantis now, although all politicians are kind of like fish. They start to stink after a while. But Trump has not realized, he has not asked for forgiveness for his biodigital weaponry warp drive sin, missing the mark, that became warp speed. He hasn't acknowledged that. He skipped that over. And he's making the same mistake he made. He thought he was running against Biden as opposed to running against the deep state. Biden couldn't run and win against broccoli. Trump wasn't running against Biden. That's a puppet. He was running against the puppet masters. And he's actually acting like there'll be fair elections. There is no fair election way without us building the resistance and keeping and putting the pressure on. And that is what we are doing. And for those of you who are sitting on the sidelines talking, I'm not interested in hearing from you, especially if you haven't served as a law enforcement or soldier or intelligence officer, as I have, or mother, which of course I cannot be, but they're certainly braver than me. But Article 2, Section 21 of the Arizona Constitution says all elections shall be free and equal, and no power, civil or military, shall at any time interfere to prevent the free exercise of the right of suffrage. And these ballot tabulator machines, not being able to read voter ballots certainly qualifies as that. They had the ink settings off, improperly set, rendering ballots unreadable. That's sabotage. They infiltrated through espionage, and then they sabotaged exactly what I'm always trying to get through to everybody, although it seems to be a tough slog for you to understand what I am saying. Moreover, Maricopa County election officials lied to voters when they instructed them to check out and check back in at another polling location. Nowhere in Arizona elections manual does it say this is an option or a solution. In fact, once someone checks in, whether they voted or not, they can't leave and go to another polling location because it would be considered double voting. This is like the Sharpie scandal. This is all sabotage via espionage. So we've got to counter espionage and counter sabotage. You can't just do MAGA car rallies. It's not going to work. Doing the same thing over and over makes you crazy, hazy, or lazy. Go back and watch that podcast. Moreover, Board of Supervisors Bill Gates, along with the Maricopa County Recorder Stephen Richer, started a political action committee, a PAC, in November 17th of 2021 called the Pro-Democracy Republicans of Arizona, specifically designed to recruit, train, and run rhinos that do not question the validity of the previous election in 2020. Of course, 2016, the left says, was stolen, but 2020, just fine. Like Obama saying, there's not a smidgen of corruption in the IRS before he does the investigation, because the king is law, as opposed to in America where the law is supposed to be king. We don't want an earthly king. And for all those of you using King James Bibles instead of the Geneva Bible, or better yet, an Aramaic translation, what are you doing? Get out of your box. Typically, judges will refuse to take a case or dismiss it on the grounds of those filing do not have legal standing. So this legal suits, and I know Brian Blem, who was doing the co-chiefs against Mark Elias, expected to win, but obviously Elias bribed or extorted. That judge is involved in this. There's other attorneys, Todd Callender, lots of attorneys stand up, and we need attorneys to get involved in this. You can always join Team America at jeffreyprather.com. If you're not in the United States, you can join Team Global Freedom, also at jeffreyprather.com, JEFFREYPRATHER. But our legal teams are working around the clock furiously. Right now, most of the effort is focused in Arizona, but we are aware of the LA case, which looks like sort of has been dismissed, but there is a dispute, and George Webb was talking about this, about an electronic device that has terabytes of data on it that is still in custody that they want back. That is the smoking gun, but it can't be transmitted over the wire. It would have to be handed off, kind of like Seth Rich probably did with the thumb drives. And that's why he was shot in the back of the head, his wallet and watch were left. And the DC police called it a robbery, although they didn't rob him. It was a message. And probably the reason why they're not outing this is because who were they going to hand it off to? Well, the same guys that brought in the Israeli art students before 9/11. The Thebes, the FBI, the intelligence agency masquerading as a law enforcement agencies, the Federal Bureau of Information Influence Operations, under which the Foreign Counterintelligence is actually CIA, as Strzok was. So the key to post-election litigation must be argued based on a violation of laws, rights, violation of equal protections under those laws. The way to do this is through signed affidavits of at least 30,000 voters. And that needs to happen and is happening right now. And we will continue to track and follow that as well. But in the meantime, we've got to keep the pressure on. And this is one way of doing it. And these rallies here are how this can be done. And another example of that would be an example to show you how involved this is. I'm going to give you a rare look into behind the scenes Team America working documents. This is the concept of operation of shutdown Arizona, out of Team Arizona working hard, saying our midterm elections were stolen from us. They were conducted with gross mismanagement, negligence, criminality, a stellar lack of proper oversight, conducted by a Secretary of State who was running in the race, a clear conflict of interests. These do not reflect the will of the people by any stretch of the imagination. So a call out has been made on the internet to shut down Arizona, and it's gaining traction. So we are working with a lot of different groups, Bikers for Trump. I spoke to Lieutenant Colonel Darren Gobb of Restore Liberty today. I've alerted Mike Adams and Brighteon TV. I've contacted American Media Periscope. I put this out on Twitter, on Truth Social. Please retweet, retruth, and promote this as much as possible. You don't have to be with Team America. We're usually behind the scenes working with other groups. In this case, we are not. This is overt, open, because it's this crucial, because this is the final option before things go kinetic. The objections of this movement are a new election on December 6th. The deadline for this, again, is today by close of business Thursday evening, 5 p.m. Arizona time. And if these demands are not yet, and we don't expect that they will be, of course, then the shutdown will commence Friday, 0700 in the morning. And so the yellow poster I showed you is just one example of many groups, and that's the strength. That was the strength of the Haudenosaunee Confederation, the Iroquois Confederation, which preceded the United States. And the United States, the 13 colonies, took about 10 years to figure that out. There were lots of variations of that. A lot of people don't know that. But this will begin Friday, and it's just beginning. It's just beginning to kick off. This is our chem light in the sand. This is our organizational structure. And so we're demanding a real midterm election immediately. It says 3 strikes for Secretary Hobbs in Maricopa County. They're actively obstructing the will of the voters between the ballot stuffing. And you saw that in the video. You saw the cops just standing around there doing nothing. Shame on you, peace officers and law enforcement officers. And I speak as a former one who has worked with Phoenix Police, Tucson Police, all of the sheriff's offices, Arizona Department of Public Safety, and of course with everybody else as well. Between the ballot stuffing via drawer 3, the 30% voting machines failure, actually the 70% unexplained extended ballot counting, the election in Arizona cannot be trusted, and it will not be trusted. Enough is enough. Arizona citizens no longer trust officials. The track record of incompetence and obstruction by Arizona's election officials, Secretary of State Katie Hobbs, over the course of multiple elections proves they're untrustworthy. We deserve better, and we demand better. We are demanding a remedy, and this is a reasonable remedy. Demanding a special master assigned to overseas Arizona elections, removing Katie Hobbs, Bill Gates, Stephen Richer, and of course, well, I don't know, is Eugene Yu Connacht running that one too? They've got that open contract with the DOD, so it can't be reviewed. And conduct a new election in Arizona on December 6th, 2022. I was like, can we do it December 7th? Because that's a cool date. In-person voting, paper ballots, identification required, precinct level hand counting of ballots on December 6th, 2022. Ballots counted at the precinct to be sealed and transported by the county sheriff. I don't know if that's a good idea, to a secure location. Complete election process transparency. Arizona citizens demand Arizona election officials agree to these terms by close of business on Friday, November 18th, 2022. This is a variant of the Thursday, because there's lots of different groups doing this, and that's fine because we are just beginning. We are still in the build resistance phase, while blue team is in the round up the red team phase. But there are going to be too many of us to round up once you realize that. But American citizens joined by Arizona citizens joined by American citizens from across the country will peacefully descend on Arizona until the new election is conducted. Elections belong to the people. Conduct a hashtag real midterms now. This is very, very crucial. And so the mission is to shut down as many roads, highways into metropolitan and governmental areas via parked vehicular obstruction, or like the other yellow one is just drive around. Deny the enemies their tools, traffic, materials, goods, deliveries, regular travel, finances via the loss of revenue, debilitation of the ability of law enforcement to act illegally against us. The list goes on. You know, Blantifa, Black Lives Matter Antifa, they've been burning down buildings and raping and killing and murdering people. We're just talking about doing what our Canadian brothers and sisters are doing, and our Brazilian brothers and sisters are doing. Massive turnouts in Brazil that are being covered up, never like before. And it shames me to say that we're not leading the way. We have to look to Danish farmers, Canadian truckers, and Brazilian citizens who are appealing to the military. And we are appealing to veterans to lead this, to stand up. Because why? Because America trusts their veterans. That's the most trusted form of American government. Veterans, get off your couch, get off your asses, and get involved. Execution, pack camping gear, food, clothing everyone might need. Locate your nearest stage 1 location. Park on the sides of the road in legal parking areas first, and then begin parking on the side of the road in not legal parking areas. Blockading through lanes. As other vehicles arrive, they can be parked further up the ramps. If you're in an area other than Phoenix, you can Google map your roadways, locate your downtown. Make all on-site decisions for yourselves. Have an IFAC, individual first aid kit. Be prepared to render first aid. Have your phone handy to dial 911. Roadside safety equipment, use it. Caution triangles, road flares, safety cones, whatever you have placed accordingly around your vehicle, so they can slow down and avoid you. We don't want anyone to get hurt here. But freedom is never safe. People tell me, be safe since the pandemic. Stay safe. No. Freedom is never safe. The cage is safe. Chains are certain. Freedom has never been and never will be safe. Regarding confrontations with law enforcement, if your engine quits, you can't move it. You got spark plug problems, manifold problems. My Tesla car forgot to charge. Or drive away very slowly, very, very slowly. Slow roll blockade. That's what the yellow poster was about as well. Under no circumstances will we incite or condone the restrictions of emergency vehicle passage through the area. Clear lane must be maintained for these at all costs. We are always for what God says is good, life and freedom, not death and slavery. That's them, not us. Fire trucks, ambulance, and law enforcement are not to be impeded, harassed, vandalized, or otherwise. We're not looking for any vandalization at all. If you see anyone restricting the passage of emergency vehicle, please attempt to talk them down, restrain them, or remember, like in Phoenix the night, or in DC the night before, there was a guy doing counter sabotage, counter espionage. Epps is inciting the crowd, and the guy's going, Fed, Fed, Fed. That's counter espionage. That's counter sabotage. Call it out. Look for it. Get it on film. Bag up though, because they're going to geofence warrant you. Regarding firearms, no long guns, please. It's legal to walk around with long guns. You see these guys who walk up to cops with a long gun slung, and then the cops react, and they're like, "Oh, see, they're infringing my rights." That's why. What's the coffee shop with the terrible coffee? Go to jeffreyprather.com/shop. Get the Team America coffee. That's fabulous coffee. Oh my gosh, we were out of it the other day, and we were like, "Oh, where's our coffee?" And then it arrived. Thank you, Wire family, for sending the coffee. That's fabulous coffee, not the stupid, crappy coffee at the coffee shop where all the softies, Nancy's, hang out. But some guy walked in there with a long gun, and so they banned guns. I'm like, oh, they're anti-gun. No, they're anti-idiot because you walked in there with a long gun. You're not protecting anybody. Constitutional carry is legal. It should be legal everywhere. Is legal in Arizona. I'm a long time Arizona DPS, Department of Public Safety firearms instructor. I had a armed guard company in Arizona. I was an NRA law enforcement pistol rifle shotgun instructor. I was a primary firearm instructor for the DEA. Taught at Quantico at the FBI range. Well published in all of the tactical magazines. My somebody just got this. My close quarter combat DVDs used to sell in Army Air Force exchange stores. Taught classes as large as 600 for 2 weeks at Camp Shelby of soldiers. So got the creds for that, but no long guns necessary. That's antagonistic, and sidearms concealed body armor as well. So this is in reference to the kitted up, masked up drop box watchers in Maricopa that drew so much great attention worldwide to the drop box corruption, because people are like, oh look, they've got guns. Oh my God. They were holstered, of course, and they're wearing body armor. Oh my God. And they're masked up like us. Oh my gosh. They're doing so. That was great because that brought attention to everything. But we don't want to do that now. We do not want to antagonize the citizenry. We want citizenry support. We want to support the citizens. If arrival of the National Guard, Kerry Lake has mentioned soliciting the help of the Arizona National Guard. What we need really is a state guard working on that behind the scenes. But if they arrive, avoid confrontation. Don't allow them to move us. They should support the new election December 6th, like their Brazilian military brothers and sisters. The Brazilians are asking the military to intervene, and veterans and National Guard, you should stand up and remember your oath. There's no expiration date on our oath. I talked about that recently. Admin and logistics, maintain regular contact with family and friends. Keep them informed. Have 3 contacts that you can communicate with. Live stream the entire time you can, or as often as you can. Have a charger for your phone. Have some form of camera other than your phone. Body cams or GoPro have been very helpful. We've got a lot of stuff happening behind the scenes with body cams and GoPro. Logistics plan is being written to support our out-of-state participants with water, food, and fuel. We were doing during the Canadian trucker strike, we were able to support them through Team America lines of communication, lines of effort. So that's happening. I can tell you, I do show prep for all my shows, 4 to 5 hours minimum. But on top of that, there's all kinds of Team America con ops and op orders and coordinations happening behind the scenes. So if you aren't doing anything, shame on you. And especially whoever that guy was with the long hair and ball cap talking tough. That's like the tough talkers remind me of the guys who on YouTube, there's I think it's Jared Armitage, the ex-husband. He's a doper and a sadomasochistic guy. And one of my students divorced him and then married a great veteran, real happy now, doing really well. And he's obsessed with me, and he just puts up all kinds of stuff. Doesn't know what a Kaibo Noibo Japanese war club battering ram is. And so he makes videos, but someplace I've got the photos of him with his black contact lenses on. But the funny thing about all those guys who like to criticize me online is my dojo in Arizona started in 1990. It's still going on. I had regular hours at the dojo 3 times a week. It posted. It's still BujinGunUSA.com. You can look them up. So I'm not there anymore, but I was there for 32 years. All they had to do was come down and say, hey, you're a wimp and you're not for real. I'm going to kick your ass. That's all they had to do. Never did it. Funny that. Just talk tough online. Yeah. So real familiar with that type. So comms and control, phones, Zello, radios, walkie-talkies, bring what you got. Set frequencies ahead of time. Introduce yourselves, form a small group. This is how you build team trust, praying, training, and exercising citizen patriot rights for years together. What we offer can't be bought. It can only be earned. This is a chance to earn it. So plan on banding together, because if they are going to deter you, assault you, kidnap, illegal arrest you, link arms, help each other out, be your brothers and sisters keeper. Laying in the street in front of vehicles can help prevent towing. Got to be courageous. Encourage his attachment. Here's the details of the stage 1 for Phoenix, starting small, beginning with major roads around the Capitol Mall. Phoenix overview, stage 2 and stage 3. And there are also other stages coming for other places. Cochise County, Tucson, all of that is in the works and happening there. But to go back to the most fundamental and easy one, starting here. But again, this is just the beginning of the chem light in the sand. And normally we are behind the scenes, but in this case, Team America is taking a lead and linking up with lots of our other patriot groups and supporting them. And so I hope you will get involved. I'm on Twitter, I'm on Truth Social, I'm on Facebook. So please retweet that. I don't really ask for that a lot. I don't really ask to get on shows or anything. If somebody calls me, if it's important, like I thought the pit was, and like I thought Freedom and Health was in Tulsa, then I'll do it. But I'm not really particularly interested in doing all of those. And I'm not particularly interested in criticizing all of those. I'm just looking for allies. Trump is still an ally. Not happy with what he's doing, but that's okay. Musk, I think, is still an ally. I don't care about his Baphomet Halloween costume. Putin, definitely an ally for sure, even though he's a former KGB officer who says there are no former KGB officers, just like Bush. Other things, but this is really so important that why I'm spending so much time on it. There's lots of other things, and I will talk about this tomorrow on Brighteon TV, and this week on American Media Periscope. I had on Special Forces vet Michael Yan and Special Forces vet Colonel Pete Chambers, medical doctor. Those are all important efforts, but the inflection point for the nation right now is Maricopa. And if you can't do anything else, then pray for us. Prayer is very helpful. If you go to christchaplaincy.com or go info@christchaplaincy.com, you can put in a prayer request. Those go out. Everybody focuses their prayer. We prefer pictures to focus our prayers because we're very practical in that regard. But that is a good look behind the scenes of what TA does. And again, kudos and honor and salutes to Team America, all patriots, all volunteers, working hard behind the scenes, and occasionally getting yelled at by me. And because I'm used to a Special Forces Delta background where the hot washes are ruthlessly truthful as opposed to the SEAL after actions, which are, bro, you're so cool and your hair looks so good. No, bro, you're cooler and your hair is so good. No, there are some good SEALs. They're not all squeals, but plenty. But plenty of that. So lots of other things happening. And I could go into the FTX scandal. That's worth talking about. And I did that the other day. Let me see if I can figure that out here. But the Sam Bankman Fried, I think it is, has an interesting logo. If I could ever get through all this stuff, let's see if I can do this. to show you, and I showed this on one of my other shows the other day. I'm not sure which one. Can't keep up with them all now, but let's see if I can. Yeah, there we go. And so this is his avatar on Twitter, the FTX guy. And FTX was creating money out of thin air like the Fed and trading its own stock like Wall Street mega banks in their dark pools. Just like the Fed's creation of money, pushing an electronic button. And they even created an educational video, the Fed did, showing how this was done. And then the Fed has used its magic money button to buy up 2.2 trillion of debt securities from Wall Street. So, of course, this is built upon nothing. There is no value for this. But we are winning because the WEF, World Economic Forum, has scrubbed all mention of FTX crypto exchange from its website. That is a retreat. Make no mistake about it. Klaus Schwab's World Economic Forum has scrubbed the page about FTX from its website just days after the crypto exchange's role in a Democrat money laundering scheme. And of course, I don't have that logo up there, but it shows how the funds, investors' funds went into FTX, which then went scrubbed through the Democratic Party, which then went to Ukraine, which then went to the Biden campaign. It's a self-licking ice cream cone. Create the problem, everything collapses, and then create a solution. That's exactly what's happened in public schools and in big Democratic-run cities for 40 years. They're wrecks. They blame everyone else. Of course, the Democratic Party is a party of slavery, Ku Klux Klan, all of that, but the dumbed-down public school teachers don't know any of that. Because they've been fattened up, dumbed down, and drugged up. But Bankman-Fried was a speaker at Davos last May, alongside Google financial chief Ruth Porat and Bill Winters. But all of these things are starting to collapse now. That is winning, but winning is slow and difficult. Now, but of course, New York Fed announces a test of digital dollar with major banks. The Federal Reserve Bank of New York. And of course, the Federal Reserve is not government, it's private families. It's the rich oligarch families behind the scenes running things, still the banksters. But they're going to do a 3-month test of a digital dollar and studying its feasibility. They're seeing if they can push it on us. After the big failure, like, oh yeah, okay, everything failed here. We took the real money. Now we'll see if we can get this going, because then we can cancel real money, which dollar, as the petrodollar fails and becomes a tri-currency basket of Saudi Arabia, Rial, Yuan, and something with Russia, I can't think of right now, the value of the dollar drops, because in the past you've had to use dollars, petrodollars, US dollars to do that. So they're going to do a proof of concept because they want it to fail as magnificently as FTX just failed. And cryptocurrency and blockchain technology have exploded in prominence, and you're a fool if you're investing in this. But what is interesting about his little avatar there is look at his symbol on his shirt. If you know pedo criminals and monsters, that is a sign for going after little girls, and that's on his shirt. And there are other, and I did a show the other day showing all of these. But that's what this is about, because again, the deep state or double government, which is the puppet masters behind the government officials, because the news is talking head actors interviewing politicians who are talking head actors who are then puppets of puppet masters, global cabal, Rothschild, all of that, Soros, Schwab behind the scenes. But the dark economy produces nothing and consumes everything and runs on weapons, drugs, and human beings, human slavery, human trafficking, in particular, child slavery and child abuse, monsters. And that has been preeminent now with Pedo Joe and his doubles, who are constantly sniffing children and groping children and calling children up on the stage and offering them ice cream. Come here, little girl. And there we see it right there. And I've talked about all these. I've talked about the Maria Abramovich spirit cooking with the corpse cakes and all of that as well. But it should be very obvious looking here where all of this is going. So that's why you can't just sit on the sidelines and say, oh, well, it's politicians cheating on politicians. Where this is all going is the normalization of pedophilia. They're coming after our children. I don't know how much more clearly I can say this. You've got to get off your ass, get off the couch, and get involved, because this is what is coming. This is their plan. And so to tie that in, there's a pro-tranny propaganda film for children called Mama Has a Mustache, sponsored by Bayer Pharma Company. Pharmakia Sorcery Company produces drugs that are used to feminize men who identify as transgender. And the U.S. Holocaust Memorial Museum tells us, as part of the IG Farben conglomerate, which strongly supported the Third Reich, now we're heading towards the Fourth Reich, the Bayer Company was complicit in the crimes of the Third Reich. In its most criminal activity, experimentation to test its drugs on unwilling human subjects. That was World War II Nazis. The same thing is happening again. But if you don't know history and you're a public school teacher who has been dumbed down, fattened up, and drugged up, then you don't know. Experimental pharmacology has now paid off, and they're now sponsoring a movie to promote transgenderism. These things are not unrelated. They're all connected together. That's why they're doing it now. That's why drag queens everywhere now. This is the plan. And if you don't stop it now, you're going to be hard pressed to stop it when it's in your door, on your doorstep, or in your children's bedroom. It's crucial to understand that. And senators, and of course, before the show, I just had a chance to watch a Republican saying, we're going to investigate Joe Biden. And they were having a news conference, and it looked like the Keystone Cops, guys walking in front of the podium, waving each other around. They had no clue what they were doing. They really showed what incompetent fools they are. And then they start talking about, hey, we're going to show you something you don't see from congressional investigations, evidence. And then the microphone kind of went out. And I'm like, yeah, this is exactly what I would expect from all of you, because none of it happens on camera. It all happens behind the scenes. At the conservative justices, Supreme Court justices that were nominated, I had folks up there, and they'd say, well, you can sit there, but you guys can't. The pink lesbian activists, whatever they're called. And they'd say, well, why can't we? Because, well, you're invited and you're not. They knew exactly who everybody was. And then the walls would turn, the cops would come out, and then the walls would turn back. It's a show. It all happens behind the scenes, just like Ukraine right now. Just retweeted where Zelensky's doing some kind of air guitar thing while his country is busy asking for more money. Ridiculous. And so while the congressional rhinos are saying, hey, look, we've got evidence that Joe Biden and Hunter have used to influence, but our microphone doesn't work and we can't even stand together in a group, go Office of Special Counsel, OSP, they won't be able to do anything. They're not senior investigators. But another group of senators has reached a deal on changes to marriage equality bill. And so that's going to enshrine marriage equality into federal law. First of all, as a chaplain who has done the highest and hardest sacrament, done it myself and officiated over it. Marriage is the highest and hardest sacrament. First marriage I ever performed between a Muslim and a Christian way back in the day. But now they are going to make sure that marriage includes everything except a man and a woman, everything that made marriage weak. So what's that going to mean? Well, that means that people are going to be marrying dolls and dogs and billboards and everything else. So that's what you can expect from your government. And there is another case before the Supreme Court. This is Brunson versus Adams, and Adams is just one of the many government officials. And I really haven't spent much time in this. I think it's a noble effort. But I don't think this is going to go anywhere. It's talking about a conflict of decisions and conflict of serious national security breach. Involves the possible removal of a city president and vice president with acting members of Congress for treason. And they're naming, it starts out with Alma Adams. I don't even know what she's doing. She's probably the tranny representative to something, but goes through everybody in government. That's a mistake. It's a shotgun approach. That's not going to work. But, happy to have you prove me wrong. And then it kind of goes over, there's pages and pages here of who they are going after in this. Finally gets around to Pence and Harris and John and Jane Doe's. And seems kind of vague. I spent a year in law school before I came to my senses, but talking about the Fifth Amendment, Ninth Amendment. So I don't know if you've noticed, but they've thrown out the Constitution a long time ago. That's what I have a problem with, these groups that are trying to say, hey, you become a free state national. All respect to my good friend Ann Vandersteel, because they don't really care much about that. But maybe this will happen. If it does, great. I think it's a lot of a frontal attack, way too shotgunny, not low-hanging fruit. I think you got to flank them. But prayers and respect out to Roland J. Bronson of South Harrison Boulevard, Ogden, Utah. We will see what happens with that. More importantly, there's an article said, COVID update, what's the truth? And says the COVID-19 pandemic is one of the most manipulated infectious disease events in history, characterized by official lies and an unending stream led by government bureaucracies, medical association, medical boards, the media, international agencies. We've witnessed a long list of unprecedented intrusions in the medical practice, including attacks on medical experts, destruction of medical careers among doctors refusing to participate in killing their patients, and a massive regimentation of the healthcare led by non-qualified individuals with enormous wealth, power, and influence. And then it says, we're living through one of the most drastic changes in our culture, economic system, as well as political system. We've been told we'll never return to normal. This has all been outlined by Klaus Schwab of the World Economic Forum, his book. I've concentrated on the devastating effects this has had on the medical care and discussed the slow erosion of traditional medical care. So it's, and you go, okay, well, we've all heard that before, but this is in the Scientific Scholar, Surgical Neurological International Journal, published in April of this year. And so this is in the NIH. And that is significant. Why? Because the resistance is building inside the corrupted medical community as well. We are winning, but we are far from having won anything. This is a long fight. My children will be in this fight, and I am training my children to be in this fight. So there's lots of groups besides Team America, Restore Liberty, Truckers for Trump, all kinds of different groups descending upon Maricopa, and then Tucson, Cochise, and then this is going to spread out. And there needs to be shifts, and it needs to be calm and measured, but it's a proactive as opposed to reactive response to the steal and the destruction of our country and our republic. and you have got to get involved now. It's when I spoke in Branson, I talked about the individual American personality and spirit. It's all about what you do. I talked about the seduction of evil versus the sanctification of good by God. And it's an individual process. You can't legislate morality. Everybody has to do it individually. It's a long, slow, hard fight. But traditionally, we've never had lots of numbers. You know, when I interviewed Pastor Artur Pawlowski, and I was like, well, what about all these other pastors that are not doing anything? And he goes, 99% of them are fake, are phonies. And that is the truth in any area. And policemen, soldiers, so many are just phony. So don't be dismayed that the numbers are small. I was just talking to Team America because I scolded someone the other day and they quit, and they're like, well, you're not being nice. And like, so for warriors, we always have filters. For the military, we have basic training, advanced training, airborne school, ranger school, special forces school, operator training course, all these different courses, because we're trying to weed out who will quit. We want somebody that you got to kill them, and not just they're slightly dead, as in The Princess Bride, but really dead. The guys and gals that just won't ever quit. That's what we're really looking for. And so it's really good. I am happy for people to leave early before I need them, before I'm trusting them on the ground. But even through all of those filters that we do in the military, all the militaries have, I mean, everybody has had, you know, drill sergeants down through the Spartans, you know, everybody has a process for that. And it's a validation process. But even then, sometimes out of nowhere, you get a Desmond Doss and an Audie Murphy, and you know, you never expected them to emerge like that, because everything comes together, God touches them, and they become unstoppable. So it's fine that we're few in numbers. We've got plenty of numbers. And things have not gotten that bad yet. You know, Michael Young was talking about that the other day. Again, Special Forces veteran, the Ernie Pyle of this generation. Pete Chambers, Lieutenant Colonel, medical doctor, SOCOM surgeon, just retired, got the jab and then was damaged by it, and now is fighting it. You know, but admits it. This is what Trump should have done. Hey, you know, I was misguided. I was surrounded by a staff. They misled me. I didn't know. I'm sorry. I apologize. I ask for your forgiveness, and I will fight this. That would have been impressive. And I understand that I'm not running against Biden, but I'm running against the global cabal deep state. And I understand that the jab is a bioweapon and that COVID was a psyop. I get it now. And my head's in the fight. That didn't happen. So that's a problem. DeSantis, much better. And that's fine, because DeSantis said to the DOJ election monitors, which were really election saboteurs, no, you can't come in. It's against Florida law. You're not coming in. Well, what happened? Florida counts overnight, and Florida goes red. Florida's a free state. So Florida is the lead free state. Abbott talking about, hey, I'm going to declare invasions and the border. And yeah, you're talking again. Texas isn't going to put up with that forever. So this is really important. And I hope you are paying attention, because you want to look back in history and say that you did nothing. And I'm doing this for my children, your children, our country's future. So we are not always winning, but we will win. And winning is difficult, demanding, and always expensive. Tyrants always fall. Tyranny always fails. Graphene is not in our DNA. Freedom is. So fear not. God bless. Hold fast. Keep the faith. But freedom is never given. It will never be given. We are going to have to take it. Now is the time to stand up and fight for it and take it.